Have you ever wondered how the Amish wash their clothes? We know how they dry their clothes. You drive down the road and you'll see tons of clothes hanging out on clotheslines. We see it, it's just normal here. So what we're going to talk about today is how do they wash their clothes. Now, I will tell you one thing. They're very more methodical than we are. I don't know, than me maybe. I don't have a certain wash day. I'm kind of the type that, you know, there's a load to be done, go do it. I work from home, so I can just jump from thing to thing and get everything done as I see it. I don't have to worry about that kind of schedule, so that's a good thing. But the Amish tend to wash their clothes on Mondays, and some of them might not, but in general, they do have a little schedule how they do things, because they have, some of them have 8, 9, 10 kids that they have to wash clothes for. So imagine that. So it almost has to be a big day washing those clothes, because you know they don't have a washer and dryer like we do, that just plugs in and whips them out. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I bet you probably envision them washing their clothes like this. That is not how they do it. All right, so how do they do it? So basically, they use an old vintage wringer washing machine. Now, I say old and vintage. It doesn't have to be old and vintage. These washing machines are actually available right now if you'd like to buy one, and if you'd like to use one. Some of them, the newer models, will run by electric, but the older models, you can change them. Well, you can change any of them to run by diesel or gas, and gets the same effect. So I've got some video here that I'm going to show you. I don't have a wringer washer. My grandmother did. She lived in Indiana, grew up on a farm. My dad grew up in a family that had 8 children, a farm back in, dad's, was born in 1930, so through the 40s and 50s and 60s. Grandma used an old wringer washer, and actually she used them into the 70s, because I would go visit and she'd be in the kitchen just washing her hands and running them through the wringer. So it's really interesting. I watched some other videos of homesteaders that use them, and they said they love it. So if you're trying to cut back on expenses, washers and dryers are outrageous right now. Our dryer just broke, and believe it or not, I am washing my clothes in the electric washer, but I'm hanging them all over the house, because we're trying to decide, do we want to put that kind of money out for a new one? Do we want to fix this one, which is 20 years old, or do we want to get a refurbished one? So we're just trying to decide, but maybe the wringer washer could be the answer as well. They're not as expensive as the new fancy ones that we have today. Here's some video that I found. Again, it's not mine, but you can see how they work. A vast majority of Amish housewives will use the classic wringer washer, and you can see one here. They are from post-war era in America, so they're pretty much antique, but they are still created. Maytag makes them, and you can still buy them. But you can see here where there's a spinner in the base. You fill it up with water yourself, so they would get a hose or something like that, and fill it up and put your dish detergent in it, and use a power by diesel, or they could probably use solar if they want, or some kind of a gas to operate it. Now, you need to be near a sink to operate it. They are kind of noisy. They're not real quiet. So Typically, you're going to find women outside on the porch, or they might be in the basement or out in the garage. I've seen a neighbor of mine, she was doing laundry one day and she had everything set up out in the garage. And she had some of the clothes even hung up in there because it was kind of a nasty day. So she used it as a drying area as well. So as you can see here, it's spinning, it's washing the clothes, and once that part of the cycle is done, you'll see that there's a roller where the person using it will take the clothes out and then put them through this roller, which kind of just squeezes all the water out of it. And I've got another example of a more modern one. This one's a little bit more antique-y, if that makes sense. The next one is a picture of a Maytag. They have rollers on them and stuff so that they can move them around. But you can see here it's similar, the process, just a different look to it. Now I was talking about how they power it. Most of them will power the washing machine from a diesel generator, which is typically used to generate electrical power, and it drives a pneumatic air motor. Now, those of you who are engineers understand all that, but that gives you an idea. It's not like you can just, like we do, we just plug it in. We don't even think about it. But a lot of times the Amish men, they're very familiar with this. They're very talented in different areas so that they can make these things work, not just on the farm for themselves, but for their wife to help her with her chores as well. Like I said, they can be noisy. So what they'll do is take them out to the porch or in a basement or something like that so that they can have a working area. And here she is washing it to help it. It's not like it's just going to wash on its own. They got to use that stick to help it not get stuck in there in the spinner. And then the whole thing is wheeled over to a sink, which I didn't show that part of the video, but then she's going to just go ahead and turn that spinner on, and that will help get all the water out of the clothes so that they can then be hung to dry. And we'll watch that in just a moment as it goes through. Are any of you using a washer like this at all? I would be curious if any of my subscribers or anybody watching today uses this, because I know a lot of homesteaders are starting to use them. It's, just to go back to the basics. And there she goes. She's going to put it in there, and you can see that there's water to rinse out the suds. So she'll have to rinse them out and probably put them through the roller again to get all that water squeezed out before they hang them. And I've got this one last video here that I thought you would enjoy, and she's pushing her clothes through. Young girls are taught all the chores that their mother does. They're taught at a young age because it's expected that they'll grow up and be a mom and have several children themselves. And ta-da, she did it. And then she'll go help hang them outside on the line as well. Let me know what you think. Do you think you might get a wringer washer someday and maybe start washing your clothes that way and then hanging them out to dry on a clothesline? If things get worse, that might be what we'll be doing. So it's good to learn these things just in case. Who knows where everything's going, right? You guys have a blessed day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.